here's the rub. Here's the rub. I've been taught that I must excel, Black excellence. I've also been taught I'm supposed to work twice as hard and expect half. I've been taught that if I actually show up authentically in my true light, something bad will happen to me. I'll be persecuted. I will be boxed out. I'll be seen as an angry Black woman. I will be cast aside. People won't hear me. People won't take my advice. We have all these microaggressions that we've experienced. So we are in this conundrum. Okay, this intergenerational system, this cycle that has taught us you're supposed to advance, you're supposed to be high achieving. This is the expectation. You're supposed to actually be perfect in this. You're supposed to have coiffed face. You're supposed to have the Hermes handbag and the Prada shoes, and you're supposed to hide your light, and you're not supposed to be authentic, and it's not safe to be authentic. So what is this person? Is this a high achiever? Is this a dreamer? Is this a person who's frustrated? How do you self-identify? How do you talk about yourself? Are you a high achiever who's terrified of your dreams? Are you a professional person who wants to advance but can't? Like, how do I connect with you? How do I speak your language? How do I encapsulate the conundrum that we're in as Black women, as women who have checked off all these boxes for the American, society of the blueprint to success? If that were like a category, we can check all this shit off, right? And excuse my language, but this is my passion. We can check off we've been to college. We can check off that we have multiple degrees. You've got every single certificate that you could possibly imagine within your degree, and yet you're afraid. Who is that? How do I define that? How do I talk about that? How do I encapsulate that in my branding? And I want to hear from you. I want to know what language is that? How would you define your experience? How would you define the experience that as a Black woman who can check off all of these things, all these qualifiers, that you are enough and yet we don't feel like it? What is that? What is that? Bell Hooks would talk about it as dissimulation. That we've been taught to hide our authentic true selves. And that's the dissimulation is the disconnect there, right? I can talk about it as I do, that we're trapped in our own personal confidence gaps, right? So not the gap between gender, but our own personal gaps that says, I have done all this training. I know all of the specificities of this, position, and yet I'm terrified, and yet I can't move forward, and yet I'm overwhelmed, and yet I'm afraid of what will they say, and yet. So there's a chasm. I mean, fuck a gap. It's a chasm, and it's an inner chasm. And the chasm is between I believe I can, that shifts to, oh my God, I'm terrified, and now I'm stuck. And that stuckness goes from a day to a week to a year to 5 years to a lifetime. There are so many dreams that are in the graveyard with our ancestors. That matters to me. And I want to know how to talk about that. I want to know, what do you think about that? I want to know, how would you language that? So leave me a comment below on how you would define yourself. A person who is, as I've coined it so far, high achieving. Yeah, but, right? How do you define yourself? And do you feel high achieving when you're in the midst of fear? Because that's where I meet people. I don't meet people when they're in the high of their high. I meet people when they're in the low of their low. So these high achievers who secretly feel like, I'm not enough, but I can't tell anybody because everybody thinks that I show up in this coiffed way with this title and this experience. So I must feel good about myself. I must believe in my dreams. But that's not the case, right? So how do I talk about that? You are my focus group. I want to hear from you. How do you define yourself? So again, drop me a link, send me a DM, send me an email. I want to hear your ideas. How do you talk about yourself? How do you feel about yourself? Are you a high achiever? Are you a dreamer? How would you define this? All right. I also want to, again, highlight Neshé Conley at Nova Lux Media, who is a sister really pulling all of this out of me as a brand specialist thought partner, helping me to elevate my brand. I'm super excited and I'm truly grateful. So let me know what you think. Talk to you soon. Bye for now. Hi. So I want to give you an update. I'm really thrilled about this. I want to give you an update on